Hi, it's me, your girl Shy. I just want to share my experience with um, losing people that are, um, I'm speaking are like now, but were because they have passed on close to me, and just a little bit of what that experience was like for me, with the hopes that it would help someone, just based on how I process through, how I see others. So everybody goes through and deals with death differently, especially depending on, who the person was and how you were connected to them. So, some things you may be able to relate to and take. And then others, I may have not experienced it the way that you've experienced it. So, this is just to be able to share, and especially, we live in a time and age that literally when things happen, we find out, you know immediately, based on the circumstances, opposed to a few years ago. If they were famous, we had to wait for the news to roll out. If it was somebody in your home, we didn't have phones, you know and the ability to call and text all day long, so you find out things sooner, and probably not in the best moments or times you want to find it out, but you find it out. So I just want to share, like I said, a little bit of my experience, in reference to what that was for me. So it is 2020 now. So at the end of 2016, December 14, 2016, suddenly my mom passed. And then 2018, end of the year, my dad passed. So, but my first experience with like it being someone that I knew and was an ex of mine. We dated as teens, and I was in my mid 20s when I found out he had got killed like 2 cities over from me. And where I live, that's not far. So when I say 2 cities over, literally about 15 minutes from where I was living at the time. And I remember like trying to make sense of it. Like I did talk to him, and it was weird. Um, just around that time, I just stopped. During that time frame, I was thinking about him like every day, like clockwork, and then it just went away. We just think, oh, it's whatever. And then, I was told by my godparents, who was very close with the woman that helped raise him, that um, he was killed. He got murdered. And so that was my first experience with it being someone that I knew, someone close to me. And then um, years later, my grandmother, and yeah, there were other deaths around me, but I'm saying this is the first time where it was like, woo, like what's going on? Like I had a real bond and connection with this person, and all of that. So like I said, we all mourn differently. Um, and just speaking on that, we should not judge people, because we do mourn differently. Our makeup is different from the person next to you. God made me and equip me with things that for my journey that you may not have for your journey. So how it seems to you that I'm processing, you may say, well, she ain't crying enough, but you don't know. We just never know. People process the way that they process, and all we should do at the end of the day is respect that. You can't tell somebody, just like you wouldn't want someone telling you. So just respect how people mourn. Take the judgment off. Like how do you judge somebody about their mourning? Now, I'm not talking about in those extreme measures when somebody that sets somebody up and all that, and you can tell it's not genuine. But I'm just saying, allow people to have their moment to mourn, because it's not about you. It's about them and that experience and whatever they have with that person and them passing, how that impacts them. Has nothing to do with you. So allow people to mourn the way they mourn. And for those mourning, mourn the way that you feel. As long as it is not hurting anyone, it's not hurting yourself. There's healthy ways to do everything. So in that aspect, don't allow the pressures of what everyone is saying that you should be doing, you shouldn't be doing. Allow yourself that time to mourn the way that you need to mourn. And then I am going to give some scriptures around this. We can't escape death. It's going to happen. You know, it's a natural part of life, although we don't like it, you know, because it's so final, it's so definite. And in the Bible, in Ecclesiastes 3:4, it talks about there's a time to weep, there's a time to laugh, there's a time to mourn, and there's a time to dance. What you don't want to do is get stuck in your mourning, because that can turn into depression. That can turn into your mental health issues. So you don't want to stay in a place, because there's a time and a season for everything. So it's never meant for us to mourn and stay just mourning. Like, you can think of ways to acknowledge that person's life, to celebrate them, to memorialize them, but to not stay in that place of hurt and, you know, you just feel so lost without them, not to stay stuck. And who can say how long your stuck period should be? But also consider, like, would that person just want you sitting around, not moving forward in your life, not excelling in the things you desire, because the weight of them leaving this earth has just consumed you? Would they just want you doing that? Is that helping you, you know, fulfill their, you know, their legacy? Or, you know, just, you want to consider that as well. What would they want me to do? If they was here, go back on those conversations y'all had. What did y'all talk about? What did they tell you? This is a time to use the mourning as a motivation to be like, I did promise them that. I want to see out my promise to them. So again, I'm just giving different ways to that you may be able to look at it and consider it, because, you know, there's times in life where we're happy. There's times we're going to be sad. There's times where we're going to be excelling and everything is going great. And there's going to be times where we feel like things are just not moving and we're not, you know, producing. There's a time and a season for everything in life. And if we get stuck, you know, or try to push past that, then we take ourselves out of alignment for what we have. Meaning, if you're supposed to mourn, but it's supposed to be for whatever that time frame is, but you go past that, that means you just have missed out on opportunities and things in life because you're stuck in this place. And then also, you know, just tying that into the other examples that I gave. But what I just want to share in reference to mourning, there's a it's a thing that circulates on social media where it has the different, I think it says the 7 stages of grief. And then it, you know, you don't necessarily go through them in that order, but you go through them. And it's no secret, me and my mom did not have the best relationship pretty much past the age of 8. And it wasn't to the point, you know, we fussing and fighting. It's just we didn't have that healthy mother-daughter relationship. And throughout life, we just had to work out some things. And it was, of course, family and people that thought they knew, but all they could see was what was on the outside and what somebody would tell them. But unless you're really in that relationship with that person, that's really between those two people. And so I remember just as I was getting older, you know, I remember I was about 24. So I was already moved out of the house. So between 24 and 26. And I called her one day while I was at work, and I said, you know what? I just want to forgive you for everything that you've done to me. And I want to ask that you forgive me. Because I had to process my way through a place of hate. Like, you don't treat me like this. Don't talk to me like this. Just all of that, from preteen to a teen and a young adult. And I remember having that conversation with her that day. And, it was all great. We got off the phone, love you, laughing, talking, and things like that. And I've always just been a person of what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong, and you don't treat people bad. And so I've always had a voice. I've always used my voice to stick up for myself and, advocate for others. So our relationship just went back and forth throughout the years. And so when she passed, it was sudden, unexpected. During that time, I was actually planning and preparing for my wedding. And I had just talked to her, because she wanted to know why I was changing the date and all that stuff. And then how she passed. So, she passed away from heart disease. But in her last moments of how she passed, my mom passed away in her car. She was parked in her parking stall. So having to see them pull her, seeing first her lifeless body and pulling her out of the car. And then I'm looking around in the complex to see, if a lot of people are coming out, because, I'm getting defensive, like, don't be staring, like, be respectful. And then there was a few of us there, and my dad was there, and just the cry that came from his gut, being there and seeing that. And it was just surreal, like, wow, so I think back to what I was doing in quote unquote her last moments. And immediately, they take her and everything. And I had my best friend drove me there. And once we, gathered and we got together, we prayed. And then immediately that day, we cleared all her things out because we were there. Everybody, we had help. So just finding out, seeing, then immediately going into what does this mean? What does this look like? It was a process and like an out of body experience. And I became so angry. And I'm like, what is all this anger? Like, I was just angry and angry and angry. And so I had to sit with it for a minute. Like, why am I so angry? Like, we wasn't close. I'm not a harsh person. Like, life is life. You know what I mean? And like, now what do we do? And this was the first person in our family, like even extended family. This was the first person that generations, my generation, like everybody knew this was like the first major death in our family. So it just shook everything, and immediately, like, you have no time. Like, we're the kids. So we don't know. We're like, I guess we like find a mortuary. Like, what do you even do? Like, just not prepared. Like, what do you do? So learning that and figuring out and calling people in, it was like very surreal. Like, one day you're just living your life, and then the next day you're in this whole world that you never even pictured being a part of. So it is life changing. It is life altering. Um, and um, she passed like, like late at night into the morning, and well, like early morning. And so I remember for like a week, I wouldn't sleep at night. Like I was just up and I didn't want to be alone. Um, and it was just sad. Um, like passing alone, just a thought. That was sad to me. Um, and so I, had to process through that. And then when I noticed the anger, it's because it's like literally the end. Like she's gone. So questions that I had, I never knew my mom's story as a woman. So I only had experience with her as my mother. So I never knew her story as a woman. And it was like, you would never know, like, somebody's story. Like, yeah, people could tell you, they could share their experiences, but so I was angry about that. Like, how did you have 3 girls and you never shared your story just about being a woman? Forget being a mom, forget your other titles, like just as a woman. Why you taught us certain things, why you didn't teach us certain things, why you acted certain ways, like just to not know her story. And for me, it was indefinite. Like that was the end. So I was angry about that. And so a couple months later, I ended up going to counseling to be able to process that stuff and work it through. And it even affected my relationship with my daughter. My daughter was 2 at that time. And I'm immediately like, oh my gosh, like what would happen if something happened to me? And, it was just this very life altering, effective thing that no matter if you wanted to crawl in a corner or not deal with it, you were going to deal with it. And so, it was just a lot. And, planning the funeral, getting the obituaries um, uh, made, reading just all of that, So if you been through that and had to do that, you have a right to have an experience in some emotions from that. Don't allow people to say, well, they wasn't close, or you don't know. You don't know. Do what you have to do that's best for you. And that's going to get you healthy and not make you go over the deep edge. And you know what I'm saying? So, it's a real thing. And God made us the way he made us. I process things differently. I can talk under conditions like this. And it doesn't mean that my feelings and emotions are any less. It's just I'm built for this. Like I don't know how I'm built like this. I know that I believe God at his word. He's always been faithful. I know that he has never forsaken me. I know that he has been my comfort, my peace in the middle of storms. Like I know that. And so what a lot of that you see about me is because of my foundation. It's because of my belief system. It's because of my support system. So have you a belief system, have a support system. And the support system may not be from family, it may be friends, it may be from people that just share your experience with. Get these things so that you can move forward and be better and be great and do what you need to do, and keep any promises or commitments to, the people or the person that you lost and you still love and you want to make them proud. You can still do that. Just know that with there being a season for everything, is meant for you to sit there temporarily and then to move forward. Um, Last thing I'll share, I remember already months prior to my mom passing, um, my fiance at that time and I had planned to go to Vegas. I wanted to see Boyz II Men. So this was literally the day. This is the night. Um, we leave at midnight the day of my mom's funeral. And I remember going to the mall beforehand, and all of a sudden it just hit me like, dude, you just laid your mom to rest. I'm walking in the mall. I literally, it was like an out of body experience. Like I see myself walking in the mall and people just all around. I have all this stuff going on in my head. Don't nobody know what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. We're just passing by each other. We go and, you know, I just, you know, I like Boyz II Men. And then they start singing the song Mama. And well, I don't know if it's titled Mama, but y'all know the song I'm talking about, Mama. And I'm just, tears are just dropping at the concert. And I don't sit and mourn now when I think about the things that I had to do and pick out her last outfit, take it to the mortuary, see her body, you know, are we okay with the makeup and all that. That's always going to affect the person. That's always going to leave some type of impression on the person. And that's why we have to make sure that we're in good health mentally so that we can process this stuff and still move forward and keep our sanity. And so again, I just wanted to be able to share my experience with mourning. Like I said, I've lost 2 parents. And it's an experience. It's life lessons. And you're going to have these feelings and emotions you never knew existed. But it's okay. That's life. Just don't get stuck in that place to where now you're living. You're no longer living. You're just existing. Don't get stuck and just stay there and feel like it's okay. It's not okay. You deserve to live. They will be okay with you living. Live the life. Continue on for them. It's all in how you see things, you process things. But at the end of the day, it's all, it all works together. It all works together. So I just wanted to share, like I said, a little bit my experience with losing loved ones and mourning and what my process looked like. And if you can relate to that and take something from that, I hope that you do. And share this with someone you know. Again, this is Shy, and I'll be talking to you soon.